Alright guys, a ton of stuff has surfaced recently about what is about to happen to the game once that Asphalt Legends Unite gets globally released, so today I will be talking about all this stuff and also my expectations about all the topics, starting from the new track, Singapore, whose gameplay has already been published by Gameloft, all the way to the upcoming Bars of Speed. So let's get into it because on today's video there are a ton of things you need to be aware of. Okay, so let's start with Singapore. I will be showing to you all guys the gameplay that was shared by Gameloft so far, as well as some other clips from some creators outside of the Asphalt community, which Gameloft paid to promote Asphalt Legends Unite prior to the global release. As we can see from these clips, we can clearly appreciate that Singapore will be a quite straight track, similar to Norway and basically the opposite to tracks like Buenos Aires or Tuscany. Open spaces and the lack of sharp corners are the main characteristics of Singapore, a track that takes place on the night team Singapore, which looks absolutely stunning on most of its parts, aside from some minor details where, well, I will be honest, I do really think that some of the Asphalt 9 tracks we have right now look better than this specific frame, but credit given where credit is due, in general Singapore looks quite neat, so that's why I'm looking forward to Asphalt Unite to be released so we can get to try all these new graphics and that stuff. After Paris and Norway and now with Singapore, I'm really hoping that this trend of somewhat straight tracks continues on the future in order to make sure that the game is more interesting and attractive for those who are not interested on making a world record in an extremely complicated track, so hopefully Gameloft will keep the pace here. Aside from the graphic details I mentioned earlier, another thing where I think Gameloft could improve Singapore by a lot would be by adding more elements to the story to Singapore's streets, since on some sections the track definitely looks a bit empty, and if you put with that the fact that, it's nighttime and we can't see a lot of, unless we point at that with our car front lights, well, I'm just saying that some details wouldn't be bad, but one way or another it's time to move to the next topic. Aside from the details I have mentioned, I have to admit that Singapore looks quite cool. You know what else looks quite cool in Singapore? Well, what about the Koenigsegg Jesko Absolute? Yep, as you can see on this official image shared by a creator Gameloft paid to advertise the game, both the Koenigsegg Jesko Absolute and the Porsche Mission Air will make their respective appearance on Asphalt Legends Unite. Well, as everyone knows, Asphalt Legends Unite will be released right around the time when we usually get the first Drive Syndicate of each year, so it wouldn't be an impossible scenario to see the Koenigsegg Jesko Absolute arriving to the game as the main Drive Syndicate car right after Asphalt Legends Unite gets globally released. However, just for the fact that now we can properly say that the Koenigsegg Jesko Absolute is making its appearance into the game, it doesn't mean that it will be just or just a Drive Syndicate car. Speculating a little bit here, maybe Gameloft could release the Jesko Absolute as a Clash Store only car, so the new players coming to Asphalt Legends Unite with the global release don't get scared away after seeing how much it costs to get a Drive Syndicate car. A cost that, let's remember, would be much higher for someone starting from the 17th of July onward. But at the end of the day, the guys working at Gameloft are not stupid, so that's why I do have a small hope that the Absolute could make its appearance maybe as a Clash Store exclusive car, since that scenario would be nice both for those beginning on the game from the 17th of July onwards, as well as for those who paid for the Devil 16 and don't want to see a new expensive supercar ruining the meta once again. Because let's stop here for a second and remember why the Koenigsegg Jesko Absolute wasn't supposed to appear on the global version of Asphalt 9 Legends, because the Jesko Absolute we could see on the Asphalt 9 China version was so absolutely insane that it would have obliterated the game here on the global version, where more people play. But maybe after the Devil 16's release, maybe Gameloft finally opened the door for a car like the Absolute to appear. How will the Jesko Absolute appear? Only time will tell, but yeah, despite my hopes for seeing it as a Clash Store only car, being realistic, it could be a Drive Syndicate car with, some of the cars displayed on this photo as the requirements. The Porsche Mission Air could be the new D-Class car we always get at the beginning of each Drive Syndicate, while maybe the Bugatti Bolide could be the S-Class required on the penultimate stage of each Drive Syndicate. But it's just my assumptions from here, but the main thing we can get from this image is the Koenigsegg Jesko Absolute is finally coming to Asphalt Legends Unite, and that's now a truth. At last but not least, I would like to close this video talking about the upcoming burst of speed whenever it might arrive, since as many of you may know, the Asphalt Legends Unite release kinda changed the whole calendar of the rest of the year, so we might get a burst of speed later than we are used to, or we might not get anything at all. One way or another, there are no cards confirmed to appear on the upcoming burst of speed so far, but despite I can't tell you guys the exact details, I can tell you something. The next burst of speed will be bad. Probably one of the worst burst of speed events ever released so far. That's all what I can tell you guys without knowing the exact cards appearing there or anything. If things stay the same as for now and Gameloft doesn't change its plans for the upcoming burst of speed, all what I can tell you is what I just said. It won't be a good burst of speed. But who knows, believe it or not, the truth is that many people at Gameloft check on my videos, so it's quite likely that someone in charge of the burst of speed thing is seeing this right now, so in case that's true, I think it's a nice moment to ask you to kindly add whatever you want on the burst of speed packs for as long as the Bugatti Bolide ends up being the main burst of speed special event card, just like the Tommaso P72 was, you know? Come on, I know you can do it and you will probably won't because, you know, the plans are already set, but it would be a sensational introduction of Asphalt Legends Unite, so, you know, at least keep my suggestion just in case you need to use it in the future. Because I trust you, Gameloft employee looking at this video. I mean, it's just the Bolide. I am not asking for the devil, just the Bolide. I mean, think about it, please. Anyways, without any leaks, because there aren't any, and just with the premise that the next burst of speed will feature quite bad stuff in the packs, I think that's pretty much all what I wanted to talk about on this video, so that's fine, I guess. Now it's my favorite part of the video where, you know, I ask you to drop that massive like, subscribe to not to miss absolutely anything about Asphalt Legends Unite and that stuff, so kindly follow those steps and I will be quite grateful. I will see you really soon, as usual, with much more Asphalt Legends Unite content. Goodbye, guys.